Consistency within my life has always been a concept that has been difficult for me to grasp. I know there must be some form of consistency that is manifested throughout these almost 17 years, but putting a finger on its specifics has seemed impossible. The idea of consistency itself breeds a sort of comfort that I find myself seeking. I assume it must be something or the thing that has carried me throughout my life's journey thus far, and has been important enough to stick by my side without failure. The more I thought about it though, the further away its discovery seemed to be, as every part of my life has been subject to change. Changes of all sorts, emotional, psychological, interrelational, and physical, have conditioned me to be the individual I am today. Change seems to be the most consistent thing about my life so far. Only after having this revelation did I realize that change is the constant that I live through and that lives through me, and that this change is the driver of how and why I create. I'm unsure when I became aware of the changes in my life in a way that was no longer one-dimensional, and started to recognize change as a pattern and a potential pathway into a new chapter. I know that from an early age, probably around 6 or 7, I have been aware of changes and the severity in which they affect me, but only more recently, within the last 2 years, have I been able to grasp and understand that these changes are not what define me, but my reactions to them are. I view change as an aspect of my journey that is inevitable and somewhat jarring, but simultaneously comforting because every relationship, path, emotion, truth, lie, bias, word, and thought can and will be altered. Regardless of my desire or lack thereof to alter certain aspects of my life, especially the ones that I feel deep love, compassion, and care for, their ability and inevitability to be changed will always be a possibility, and if not a possibility, then a likelihood. Because of this, I create. I tell the stories that I'm not able to put into words with the help of a notebook, pen, brush, and cotton cellulose paper. And I find my brain registering moments I hadn't before as important and monumental. Through my creative process, I weave together occurrences from my day-to-day life over the course of my years that define me as an individual in a note-taking-esque way. I begin with a phrase that I feel driven to explore, and more recently, these phrases have been maternally focused that feel infinitely perplexed by my mother and I's relationship and its multifaceted complexities, as well as themes of birth and rebirth and interconnection that surfaces from the response to growth that comes from this change. I allow myself to branch off into as many side tangents as I see fit, as there truly is no formal ending sign to this webbing process, because every aspect of my life can be an addition to any of these maps. But once I feel satisfied with the connections made, I seek out my second step, which is the more formal art-making process. While keeping any web strings in mind from the map, which could be phrases, names, imagery, or emotions, I begin my piece. I utilize my medium very purposefully, paying close attention to value and saturation of the strokes created in order to allow my concept to be effectively shown. Since my art-making process is heavily influenced by change, my final piece is often very different from my original visions physically, and increasingly conceptually layered due to additional connections that can be discovered along the way. My piece shown here, A Love Letter to My Alma and Other Products, is an example of my process of understanding who I am and why that is. It surrounds the notion that I, and everyone, is a product of their environment. My mother, or Oma, is a product of her environment, from birth until now, and so forth, as am I. I explore fluidity and interconnection through my art because it brings me to a point that is not static, but a period of rest, similar to the human journey through life. Although I am very frightened of change, I know that every moving piece in my life is connected or is destined to be connected at some point. Although nothing is guaranteed, I feel driven to further explore how change can alter my perception of all that surrounds me, and I'm excited to learn more about myself in that way. Thank you for listening to my art.